NBC General Hospital spoilers tease that Josslyn didn't hesitate for even a second when the doctors announced that Carly needed a liver transplant to have a chance of survival. For her, there was no other choice but to donate part of her liver to save her mother. She had already lost too many important people in her life, witnessed too much pain, and she couldn't let Carly become another name on the list of those she loved but couldn't protect. Despite knowing that donating part of her liver would affect her health, and understanding that the surgery and recovery process would be incredibly difficult, Josslyn didn't care about herself. She just wanted Carly to live. But as soon as Josslyn made her decision, Carly's condition worsened rapidly. The doctors did their best to keep things stable, but the radioactive toxins in Carly's body were destroying her organs at an unimaginable pace. The liver transplant was no longer the perfect solution. It had become a life-or-death gamble. If Carly's body wasn't strong enough to accept the new liver, if her immune system couldn't fight off the damage caused by the toxins, no matter how much Josslyn sacrificed, Carly might never fully recover. Josslyn began to feel the weight of the decision she was about to make. This wasn't just any surgery, it was a turning point that could completely change her life. If everything went smoothly, Carly would have a second chance, and Josslyn would forever know she did everything she could to keep her mother with her. But if something went wrong, if Carly's body couldn't accept the liver, if she fell into a prolonged coma, Josslyn would face a pain without end. The doctors tried to reassure Josslyn, but she couldn't stop thinking about the worst-case scenario. If Carly didn't wake up, if her mother was trapped between life and death, it meant that she would have to continue her life without her mother by her side, a future Josslyn couldn't bear. She wondered if she could accept the reality that, despite doing everything she could, Carly might never open her eyes and look at her again. But Josslyn also knew she couldn't back down. This wasn't the time for fear or doubt, this was the time for action. She thought about everything Carly had done for her throughout her life, all the times her mother fought to protect her, the sacrifices Carly had never regretted. And now, it was Josslyn's turn to do the same. No matter how great the risk, no matter how high the cost, she was ready to do everything to save Carly. But even as Josslyn prepared to undergo surgery, forces beyond her control were also in motion. No one knew for sure who was behind Carly's poisoning, and if the person responsible knew that Carly still had a chance to survive, would they let her be? If this was indeed part of a larger conspiracy, would Carly truly be safe after waking up, or would she once again become a target? And if Josslyn sacrificed herself to save her mother, but ultimately couldn't protect Carly, could she live with that pain? Josslyn had never felt so torn. She was ready to do everything to save her mother, but she also understood that there was no guarantee Carly would fully recover. If her mother truly fell into a coma after the liver transplant, if Carly couldn't wake up, it would mean Josslyn lost her mother in a way she never imagined, a loss that couldn't be predicted, a pain without end. Everything now depended on fate. As Josslyn prepared to enter the operating room, she knew that no matter what happened, she would never regret her decision. But what she couldn't control was what would happen afterward. Could she really save her mother, or would she only trade it for another tragedy, a life where Carly was just a shadow, trapped in a prolonged coma, and never really coming back? Josslyn was ready to sacrifice, but would that sacrifice be enough to save Carly? After everything, would she be able to see her mother wake up, or would it all end with emptiness and questions with no answers? This battle wasn't just about Carly's life, but also about Josslyn's future, and no matter the outcome, she would never be the same person again. Laura Wright's temporary departure from General Hospital created a major turning point in the storyline, putting Carly's fate in an unprecedentedly dangerous situation. With Carly falling into a deep coma after the poisoning, everything in Port Charles started to unravel. Not only did her loved ones face the pain of witnessing her fight between life and death, but the ones behind this evil plot continued to manipulate the situation in the shadows. Carly was not someone easily defeated, but this time, her prolonged coma raised a big question: could she overcome this challenge? She had always been a fighter, someone who never gave up, but now she was trapped in a fight she couldn't fight alone. With Laura Wright temporarily leaving GH, the writers might use Carly's coma to create a dramatic and dangerous storyline, pushing those around her into unpredictable situations. Michael, who had already suffered too much after the rooftop apartment explosion, now had to face the prospect of losing his mother. Josslyn, after donating her liver to save Carly, was in recovery but emotionally shattered. She had given everything to protect her mother, but was that enough? If Carly didn't wake up, could Josslyn overcome the pain of knowing she did everything but couldn't change her mother's fate? Meanwhile, Sonny was also being pushed to his limits. Although his relationship with Carly had its ups and downs, she was still an integral part of his life. If Carly couldn't recover, it meant a part of Sonny would be lost forever. But what made everything worse was the possibility that Carly's attack wasn't an isolated incident, it could be part of a larger plan to bring down everyone close to Sonny. Were his enemies using this situation to strike at his greatest weakness? Valentine, who had once been a suspect in the poisoning, couldn't stand by without being involved. If he was indeed responsible, Carly's coma meant he had succeeded in part of his plan. But if he wasn't the mastermind, Carly's coma became a threat to him, because when she woke up, she might be the only one who knew the truth about what really happened. While Carly remained unconscious, other dangerous forces began to rise. If Carly woke up, she could expose the entire plot. But if she never woke up, those behind this might continue to carry out their plan without anyone able to stop them. Carly's coma wasn't just a medical challenge, it was a shock that could completely change the landscape of Port Charles. No one could predict what would happen if Carly didn't wake up. Could her loved ones continue to fight for her? Or would they slowly lose hope, leading Port Charles into an uncontrollable storm of chaos? Whatever the outcome, one thing was certain. Carly's coma was not just a temporary story, it was a turning point that would change everything, and when Laura Wright returns, Carly's character might face unpredictable consequences from her time away from this world. The biggest question now isn't whether Carly will survive, but how different the world she wakes up to will be, if she ever does. Josslyn has no choice but to step up in place of her mother, taking on the responsibility of managing Carly's legacy at Bobby's Diner. This is not just a business. It's a piece of her family's history, a legacy left by Carly, representing everything that her grandmother, Bobby Spencer, built. But taking on this responsibility is not something Josslyn expected. She is not ready to become Carly, not ready to face the reality that her mother may never wake up. Yet, amidst the pain and loss, she knows she cannot step back. Managing Bobby's Diner becomes a new challenge for Josslyn. She must recover from her liver donation surgery while trying to keep the restaurant running, once the pride of her mother. She feels the weight of the responsibility bearing down on her as she struggles to keep everything running smoothly while facing unavoidable issues without Carly being there to protect her. Carly's former adversaries, those who once feared her power, may take advantage of this opportunity to attack and take what belongs to Carly and the Spencer family. But as Josslyn tries to stand firm in the eye of the storm, Michael unexpectedly returns, bringing a glimmer of hope. After a long period of recovery in Germany, he is strong enough to return to Port Charles and immediately dives into the fight to save Carly from her critical condition. Michael's return isn't just because of his mother's situation, but also because he senses that something is wrong. He knows Carly wasn't simply poisoned by accident, someone wants her gone. Michael begins to investigate the situation further and discovers that Carly's condition is not just the result of the poisoning, someone might have intentionally interfered with her treatment. If this is true, it means someone is watching their every move, waiting for the right moment to end everything. Michael cannot let this happen. Josslyn, strong as she is, realizes that she cannot do everything on her own. With Michael's return, she can focus on Bobby's Diner, preserving what Carly had built, while he fights to bring their mother back. Michael is not only Carly's hope, but also the one who can stop the nightmare threatening their family. However, the biggest question still remains, will Carly wake up? If she has truly been manipulated even while unconscious, and if there's a larger conspiracy at play, it means that even if Michael and Josslyn try to protect everything, there's a danger they can't predict. Michael's return is not just a turning point, it's a declaration of war. Someone tried to destroy Carly, and now, Michael won't let that happen again. As he begins to search for the truth, Josslyn realizes she's no longer the innocent girl she once was. She's entering a new phase of her life, where she is not only Carly Spencer's daughter, but also the one who will protect her mother's legacy, no matter the cost. With Michael fighting on one front, and Josslyn trying to preserve what Carly left behind, one thing is clear: the Spencer Corinthos family will not let Carly be forgotten. But the biggest question remains: will what they're doing be enough to pull Carly back from the brink of life and death, or will they have to witness an irreversible change forever? Carly is not just an important character in Port Charles, but also an icon, a resilient woman who never backs down from any challenge. When she falls into a coma after being poisoned, everything seems to change completely. The city shakes in her absence, her family is thrown into chaos, and her enemies believe they've won. But if there's one thing certain, it's that Carly will never disappear completely. She always finds a way to come back, stronger, more dangerous, and this time, her return could change the entire course of Port Charles. Josslyn has had to grow up too fast with her mother no longer by her side. Not only does she have to manage Bobby's diner, but she also faces forces trying to overtake her now that Carly is not around to protect the Spencer family. Meanwhile, Michael has returned from Germany after recovering from the rooftop apartment explosion, determined to find out who is behind all the suffering. And Sonny, though the strongest man in Port Charles, cannot deny that Carly is an indispensable part of his life. She is the only one who can face him, make him reflect on himself, and force him to think about his choices. Carly's absence has left a void that nothing can fill, but it's also why her return will bring a real storm. When Carly wakes up, the first thing she will face is the truth that everything has changed. She is no longer the woman who can simply move on as if nothing happened. The poisoning was not an accident, it was a deliberate attack aimed at removing her from the game forever. But who did this? Who's behind it all? Could it be Valentine, the one with all the mysterious plans? Or is it another force, an enemy Carly never expected? Carly is not just coming back to continue her life, she is coming back to reclaim everything that was taken from her. And this time, she won't let anyone have the chance to overthrow her again. She knows that if she doesn't act, her loved ones will continue to be threatened. She can't leave Josslyn to fight everything on her own, can't let Michael plunge into a war he's not ready for. She also can't let Sonny fight on his own against forces growing stronger in the shadows. Carly has always been the protector of her family, and despite the painful losses, she will continue to fight. But this time, Carly is not just protecting, she is striking back. She is no longer the woman who just endures the injustices done to her. She has learned too many lessons from her years in Port Charles, from the time she was betrayed, taken down, but also from the time she stood up and reclaimed everything. Carly knows that this world is not for the weak, and she has never been one of them. When she opens her eyes, when she gets out of bed and sees the world she missed, she knows she cannot let it continue the way her enemies want. Carly's story is not just about recovery, it's about a powerful rise. She's not just coming back, she's coming back with a goal, a mission she's more determined than ever to complete. Those who thought they could manipulate her, take advantage of her absence to fulfill their own agendas, will soon realize they've underestimated Carly. She's not someone easy to control, and she's certainly not someone who can be easily taken down. Port Charles has never been peaceful, and with Carly's return, the city will once again shake. No one can predict what she will do, but one thing is certain: Carly is not coming back to be a victim. She's coming back to take control, to change the game, and to prove that she is still the strongest woman Port Charles has ever known. And when the Carly storm rises, no one will be left on the sidelines.